Hey there, Catherine Langman here, and welcome back to today's episode of the Productpreneur Success Podcast. And so far this month, I have been, sharing a whole bunch of ideas and some of my methods around planning for those of you who are trying to work out what your goals are for this year and work out, what strategies you're going to employ to help you to grow your business this year. Hopefully that content has been helpful over the last couple of weeks. But sometimes, theory isn't enough, right? Sometimes it can be really helpful to hear stories from other people who can kind of help bring things to life for us and, I guess make ideas a little bit more tangible so that we can go and implement them ourselves. So today on the show, I'm actually joined by my friend and my former client, Lisa Munro from Happy Tummies. Lisa's actually been on the show before, quite a while ago now, and her previous episode was absolutely awesome as well. So we will link to that in the show notes as well. So I think, if you haven't listened to her first interview, you definitely should listen to that too. But obviously, we're talking all about planning for the year right now. And I have to say, Lisa would have to be one of the most organized and efficient people that I know. And she's going to share some of her really practical strategies that she's worked out, over many years in business about how she goes about her planning with her goals, her planning out her big promotions, and then also planning her regular marketing content. And she does a few super clever things that make her life a whole lot easier. So if you want some simple ideas to make that planning and the implementation as easy and efficient as you possibly can, then pull up a pew and listen in. Now, before we get started, though, I just want to remind you about something extra special if you haven't already got it, and that is my 2023 e-commerce marketing playbook, which is a free resource that I recently published. And in it, you will discover the strategies that we use to generate over $5 million in revenue over the last year for our clients. And I literally pull back the curtain in this playbook and reveal exactly how to guarantee your marketing results this year. Now, it's no secret, I don't think, that e-commerce marketing has changed dramatically over the last year. We noticed a really huge change in the way consumers buy and the way consumers consume content as well. And over the last year, there were a lot of brands closing their doors and just being significantly less profitable. And what was working stopped working, and what once worked is kind of actually making its way back. And after pivoting and adjusting our strategies over the last few months, we were really able to create some brilliant results for ourselves and for our clients. And really, despite everything that happened in 2022, and it was a challenging year, we still finished the year in a strong position and with some great results. So save yourself wasted time and money and steal all those secret strategies for free in this playbook. So if you would like to get yourself a copy, just head to catherinelangman.com/ecom, ECOM-playbook, and you can download that straight away. I will link to that also in the playbook, so you don't have to remember in the podcast show notes, I beg your pardon. So you don't have to remember the URL. Now, that's it for that. Without further ado, I just want to really welcome Lisa onto the show. And let's dive into today's interview. So welcome to the show, Lisa. So good to have you here again. It's been a little while.
Thanks, Kath. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So do you, just for any listeners who don't know you yet, do you want to kind of introduce yourself and your business and just tell everyone what it is that you do and sell?
Yeah, so I run Happy Tummies. We're an online shop that helps mums who've got kids with food allergies. So we've been running for about 10 years now. And last year we just pivoted a bit and we've created our own brand, and we're doing our own brand of a few products at the moment, which I'll expand over the next few years. So yeah.
But still Happy Tummies as well as a retailer, and now your own branded stuff too, yeah?
Yeah, we've actually changed the name of our own branded stuff. We've changed it to Free From Family. And we've done that because we're not just going to do food. We've got other products lined up too. And we just felt like Happy Tummies was a bit too narrow. So, yeah.
Fair enough. And, it's a great niche audience there who have very specific requirements, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So I guess that's really what makes your business and this new brand unique and different. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I've got lots of competition online, but the other online shops tend to be a health food store, or they try to cater for everyone who needs different food. Whereas I only talk to mums who have kids with food allergies. And I know I serve families who have celiac disease and who are vegans and have other intolerances, FODMAP issues and so on. But I only speak to those mums who have kids with food allergies, and it's multiple food allergies. So I don't help really people who've just got an egg allergy. They don't really need me, or families with just a nut allergy. They don't really need me. It's the families who've got kids with multiple food allergies. So their kids are like mine and can't eat anything. So they can't have wheat and dairy and soy and something funky like my son, like rice. So when you throw all those in together, it gets complicated.
Oh my goodness, it sure does.
Yeah.
I just wanted to quickly sort of interject here because, I mean, obviously we're going to have a chat about planning and the sorts of ways that you have very cleverly organised yourself. But for listeners, I just really want you to pay attention to what Lisa said here about how she's talking to the mums, and she's got this very specific audience. And, yes, other people buy as well. And I just feel like that's so necessary for all of us to really be very niche in who we're targeting and talking to.
Yeah, and I don't feel like it stops other people coming to me, but I would never not talk about lunch boxes this time of year, because that's what my customers are doing. They're starting to buy lunch boxes, think about what they'll put in them. So an older person won't be packing lunch boxes, but it doesn't mean they're offended by what I say. So
no, exactly. Yeah. So love that. So, I mean, it's probably something listeners could guess, but tell us the story of why you started your business and maybe, what you were doing before and really what inspired you to become an entrepreneur, or a repeating entrepreneur, as the case may be.
Yeah, I did a psychology degree at uni actually, and some marketing. And when I first came out of uni, I worked in market research, doing creating surveys and analysing them. I used to really like doing the data analysis. And then I actually worked in sleep for quite a while as a sleep technologist, analysing sleep studies. So it's quite a technical area. I used to set the patients up for sleep studies and then analyse the sleep studies overnight. But then when I had my son, who's now 16, he had heaps and heaps of food allergies, lots. And I didn't realise until he was about 3, he had allergies. He was just an awful, awful baby who never slept and cried all the time. Terrible. So yeah, it's so sad looking back. He was sick for so long. And I just felt so alone. I had no one I knew like me. And I just thought I can help other mums like me. I know what I'm doing now. I've been doing it a few years. So that's why I decided to start the business.
And had you already sort of, found all of the food options and, sourced things as well, just for yourself? Or...
Yeah, I had. So I'm based in Perth. So in Perth at the time, it was really hard to get things. I couldn't even buy flour easily in the supermarket, like sorghum flour or potato starch and things like that. There was just one shop I used to go to and everything was loose, but because he had so many food allergies, sometimes I'd find a lentil in the potato starch or something like that. And mums who have kids with food allergies, we don't buy things from loose shops. We would never do that because we don't know what scoop's been in where. It was the only option I had. So I started buying lots of things online. And so, yeah, that's how most of the supplies I find now, I Google and I find them that way. And in the beginning, I had to do that. I had to do lots of research to find distributors. No one shares the information. I tend to when people call, I don't worry. But it took a lot of work to find them.
Oh gosh, I mean, anyone in your audience who's had to go through that would want the shortcut, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're going to talk about planning in a tick. But I mean, you've been in business for, I didn't realize it was 10 years now. And
Yeah,
so
it's just clicked over 10 years. Yeah.
that's incredible. And
Yeah.
we've known each other for quite a few of those years now, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so share with our audience, what's a couple of things that you might have done maybe a little bit earlier in your business journey that might have helped you to grow, from one level to the next, or perhaps, push through a plateau. Obviously everyone has been through some pretty chaotic, unpredictable times recently, but it's always good to get some ideas about what other people have done.
Yeah, well, the first thing I did was I got some education. I realized I needed some help, and it was either kind of closed down, nothing was happening. I thought if I build this website that helps so many people, that people would just come, they'd just find me. And I was in a support group. I was quite active in that for the condition my son has, which is called eosinophilic esophagitis. And I thought all these mums would just come and buy from me because I'm making their life easier. But actually they didn't. So I got some sort of basic business education. I did a program that lasted about a year, but really all that taught me was that I just didn't know enough. Once I did that, then I needed to find someone more specific. So I suppose the next thing I did was I did three things. I moved to Shopify. I found you and I did one-on-one coaching for 18 months. And then I also ran a big survey on my customers and I worked out exactly what their problems were. And I found I had 4 key groups of customers. And once I did that survey, I had the words they used to describe. I did a spreadsheet of the words they used. And then when I was talking to them, I would just go to my spreadsheet and copy and paste their own words into my Facebook ads or emails or anything. I don't tend to do that now because I've done it for so long. I just know those words. But in the beginning, that's what I did. And so it was those 3 things really that I kind of did all at the same time that really made us take off.
I mean, I remember obviously when you were working on all of that kind of stuff, and I remember you were using that information that you gathered from your survey on your website, but I also know you've got a more recent website upgrade. And do you feel like you're still, I mean, obviously not copying and pasting like you were, but are you still using the insights now?
I do. I still use those same words. Even this week, I wrote an email and I wrote an email that went out this morning about lunch boxes, and I started it off with some of the same words they'd say to me, like, I don't have time to bake everything from scratch because we cook and bake a lot more. So it's the same. I use it all the time.
Yeah, so incredible. That's really cool. So, we're recording this, it's kind of middle of January, and a lot of business owners are, either thinking about what they're going to be doing this year or actively working on their plans, or perhaps, head in the sand, avoiding the whole planning notion. But I really, I'm on a bit of a mission trying to make this a little bit easier for people. And realistically, you're one of the most organized and efficient people that I know. So I really wanted to get you on the show to talk about how you go about your planning for your year. And I guess to begin with, and I know this is a hard one this year in particular after such a crazy, weird year last year, but do you normally set goals for the year, or how do you start?
I do. I set myself targets for the financial targets for the month. And then I break that down and I divide it up and I work out how much I need to make for the week. And then I know each week whether I'm on target. So that helps. I have to say last year I didn't actually make many of my targets. We had a tough year last year. We lost so many products.
Because of supply chain shortage.
Yeah, since COVID's happened, our business has really suffered with lack of products because a lot of our products were imported. So a lot aren't being imported. And a lot of our manufacturers actually just closed down last year. They found it hard to get raw ingredients. And some that have been running a long time, they just shut down. So
there's going to be so many people who have this vacuum of stuff that they need.
Yeah, that's right. So, so even though I didn't meet all my targets last year, it doesn't mean I don't still make them. I still make them. And I just, because I've been running so long now, I always set myself a target percentage to make based on last year. And I do it based on, so if January I did a certain amount, then the next January I try to do a percentage above that. So the last few years being really tough. I've only set my target at 10% above this year because I need to feel good. But last year I'd set my targets at 20% above, and I didn't make them. I did in December, but because it was tough. So I set myself a target, and then I break that down. Let's say to make it easy, I wanted to do $50,000 in a month. And there's 4 weeks in the month, I'd say, right, I need to do 12,500 each week to make that target.
Yeah. And then from there, you can work out how much traffic you need based on your average order values, all of that cool metrics related stuff. But of course, it's all one thing to kind of set that target, isn't it? And then you've got to work out how you're going to make that happen with the actual, marketing and advertising.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I really wanted to get you to share a little bit about kind of how you plan out, the promotional calendar and the content calendar, because I know you work in such an organised, systemized way.
Yeah, so I do my planning when it's quiet in the middle of the year. So I plan for the financial year. I don't know if that's what everyone else does, but I'm not planning at the moment because I've already done it last year. And I use a spreadsheet. I never start from scratch. I would never for anything start from scratch. I might change what I do for a promotion one year if I've done something for a few years and I think, oh, I'll try something different. But I would never just start from scratch. So I use a spreadsheet and I break that down into months, and then I break it down into weeks, and I do 2 emails a week. So I keep a track of what I'm writing. And then I have 3 big promotions a year. I do Easter, Christmas, which starts actually before Black Friday, and then I do Black Friday, which isn't as big. I do a 12 days of Christmas as well at the start of December, and I plan that out, but I wouldn't call that a big promotion. That's just writing daily emails to try and get in a few more orders. So I just break it down, and when I've done that, because I typically start writing my emails in July when I'm quieter. So I have the emails for Christmas ready to go. And obviously I'll need to touch them up a bit. I might need to change images and that kind of thing, but the bulk of the work's ready. And then I do myself a checklist. So I have a spreadsheet, and in a separate tab, then I have a checklist because I've written it so long ago. I've done the planning so long. I like to have a checklist so that when I do the promotion, I know, okay, I create the assets and everything. Actually, I create the website, banner, my new Facebook logo, and I have them all in folders ready to go. And then I just have this checklist, and I just go through the checklist and do everything. I find if I don't do the checklist, then I forget.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel much the same. If it's not something that becomes habit because you're doing it often enough to become habit, I have to work with a list. Otherwise,
and even though I do, like, I've done Christmas for 10 years now, but
isn't it?
It's only once a year, and it's easy to forget something. It's easy to forget to update that shop link on Facebook or whatever. So I like to make sure that all those things are done.
Yeah. And then in between, so with those big promotions, the way that you do it is like, you've got that promotion kind of set up, and you know exactly how many emails will be sent and what the sort of content would be and all the other bits and pieces of the promotion. But you almost create it like a template that then, or an automated flow. Do you do an automated flow in Klaviyo? How do you?
I do a flow in Klaviyo for Christmas, for Easter, for Black Friday, and for the 12 days of Christmas. I always do a flow. And the first thing I do is copy the flow from the year before, and then I update it. Yeah. So I would never send the same thing.
No.
And the Christmas and the Easter emails I always do for 4 days. So I start it on a Thursday, I do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I've got a formula I use that works really well. And I just update that with the same kind of messaging.
Yeah. So cool. 4-day fast cash. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it just works like gold.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
And so in between those big promotions, it's not like you're not doing any other marketing or anything in between those big ones. So tell us a little bit about how you approach just the regular weekly type stuff.
Yeah, sometimes I'll do my weekly emails in advance. I'm never, I suppose occasionally I'm writing it the day I send it, sometimes on a Thursday, but I'm never writing. I send one on a Monday morning too, and I would never be writing one on a Monday morning. I do that late the week before. If I've got an idea of what I'm going to do, I will do them in advance. And certainly during busy times like Easter and Christmas, I'll have some emails ready to go. I might not even know what day I'll send them, but I might just have them ready to go so I can just quickly put a subject line in and send it. But the weekly ones, I get lots of new products in. I'm always looking for new products, and I never know what they'll be until the week before they come. So I don't like to plan it too far ahead. One thing I do with my emails in Klaviyo, when I put the date in the subject line, and I also write what the email is about, because often if I'm looking for content, for instance, now, and I don't know what I'm going to write for the week, I might go back to last year. I'll do a search of what I sent in January last year. I'll look what email made me the most money. I'll pull that one up, and then that might help me with content. I might even copy that campaign and just send pretty much the same thing. Or I might even just grab the subject line if that did well and had really high open rate and rewrite the copy. So I often start from scratch, but not always. There's heaps of information there. If you've been using Klaviyo, even for just a year, you can use what you sent the year before.
Yeah, I love that. I remember something that you used to do. I don't know if this still works for you or you're still doing it now, but you'd sort of have a type of content that you might send every week. Over a month. Like, do you remember you used to do that?
I did. Yeah, I did. I used to do a free product of the month. I stopped doing that last year because I changed my shipping rates. And when I did that, I couldn't really afford to do a free product. My margins are really tight. And I was like, I've got to make a decision. What's more important? And I decided to go with cheaper shipping. I might bring it back. I'm not sure. It's a good way to get rid of product that is slow moving too. Or often I'd have distributors come to me and say, oh, hey, I've got this cake mix, which is short dated. Can you get rid of it? And often they'd give it to me and I would use that as my free product. So I may bring it back. I'm not sure. I'm thinking about that.
That was super cool. And so, that's really largely about your email marketing. I think social media content is probably another big time suck for a lot of people. And, it ends up being that whole, I haven't done a post for several days. I just got to throw something up. I don't really know what to say, but blah.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't claim to be really good at social media, particularly in the last few years. I used to be good at it, but I feel like with stories and reels and TikTok and everything, it's something I'm looking at this year, what I'm going to do going forward, because I feel like you can't just do the same thing every year. Sometimes you need to change things up. And if I'm really honest, Instagram and TikTok don't interest me. Sure, I love watching reels and so on, but I'm not a funny person. And I really struggle with all of that kind of stuff. So I do think it's really important to post regularly on Instagram and Facebook. And I do that because if a potential customer comes to me and they look on my socials and nothing's been posted recently, I don't think that looks good. So I certainly would never just leave it. So I actually have a VA I employ, and she works for me just a few hours a month. I don't actually know how many hours she does. I just pay her bill. And I've worked with her now. Yeah, it's great because I used to batch content and do it once a month. But what Kate does for me is we work off a spreadsheet. We use a Google spreadsheet. And years ago, I started keeping a record of what I post on social media. And I would put in this spreadsheet the copy, and then I would save in a folder the images that I used, if they were something I'd specially created. Now, Kate's a lot better at creating images than me because my suppliers don't supply any lifestyle images.
Oh,
So Kate came up with this idea to slide a coloured background behind my product, and
yeah.
she creates all these beautiful images for me from crappy stock product
Yeah.
photos
Yeah.
that look good. And I use them in my Facebook ads too, which is
Yeah.
really a great, they're good for that.
Mm.
So we work off this spreadsheet and it has all the copy in it and everything. So what we'll do is I go to January and in December, so I do it a month in advance. I go to January and I'll say, yeah, this post, and that one from last year are good, and I'll leave them in there. And then if I've got new products or deleted products or whatever, I'll update it and I'll just tell her what products to do. I don't tell her what copy to write because Kate's worked for me long enough now. She can do that. And she can do it in my tone of voice too, which is really important. So yeah, we work off a spreadsheet and then we save. So Kate saves all that so that then next year when we come to it, that copy's there. It's written and the images are there. She's just got to schedule them.
Yeah.
So that makes it easy.
Yeah, so good. And no doubt saves you a fair bit of time thinking about it.
It does. It saves a lot of time. And I guess for a business like mine with low margins, I have to be a bit scrappy. I don't have lots of money to splash out on people creating content for me and that kind of thing. So this is just a way to do it that is economic. My page looks active and I have these nice images I can use for social media and in my newsletters and things like that.
Yeah. And tie it in with the emails as well.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
So really, I think, what you've described so far, talking about your approach, it's the planning, but it's also just the way you organize yourself and you almost kind of create these templates and flows and these, just methods of working in a really efficient way. It's just so helpful, I think, to, small business owners. We're all trying to do so many different things in our business and wear all the hats. Which can take up a lot of time. So it can feel really overwhelming. Can you think of any other tips that you would suggest to that overwhelmed business owner who might want to, start working in a way like you do? I mean, you've got many years under your belt of getting to this point.
I think the main thing is to not be starting from scratch all the time. You don't have to. So to go back, even if you've never planned before, you've got heaps of stuff there you can use. You just need to find a way to organize it. I like Google because I can just share the link to my Google Drive with Kate and she can just come in there, she can drop images in, and that works really well for us. We find that easier. And so we only use Google products for that reason. But yeah, I would just say, don't start from scratch, just use what you've got. But the planning makes the biggest difference.
Yeah. Because, it almost gives you that peace of mind, doesn't it? Because you've done the hard thinking and then you just have to go and tick off that checklist.
It does. And it's also good if something doesn't go so well, you can look back and see what you did and think, oh, okay, well, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. Well, that it helps from that too. So things don't always go to plan just because you planned it.
Yeah.
So it's helpful from that point of view too.
Yeah. So when you go through your, executing after you've done that planning, when do you kind of fit in the reviewing part of it and looking back to see what the results look like and the metrics and things?
Well, I track all of my metrics weekly. So I do it on a Monday. So I would know straight away if it's worked. And at the end of the month too, because I've got some metrics that I only do monthly. So I already knew at the end of December, I didn't do it at the end of December this year because I was on a cruise. But as soon as I got back, I looked at my numbers and I was like, okay, so I didn't have an amazing year, but I had a strong finish. So that was good.
Yeah, that's super. That's actually a bit of a pattern that we noticed across, not 100% across the board, but a lot of businesses, the earlier part of the year was really, really, really tough. And then the, second part of the year finished a lot stronger. So I'm glad it was the same for you too.
Yeah.
I want to finish up today with just a few kind of rapid fire-ish sort of questions, a little bit more general, not so much about planning per se. And so, our audience is definitely across a spectrum of, from beginner to advanced in their growth trajectory, if I can get my words out. But if you were talking to yourself perhaps a little bit earlier in your journey, what would be a piece of advice that you'd love to give yourself back then when you were in startup mode, other than set up on Shopify first?
Yeah. I would actually say to myself, start with the right product. So even though I really love what I do and I help a lot of people, I have a product with really low margins. It's really hard to make money. Everything is hard. Like I don't have the luxury of employing lots of staff because I don't have the margins to do that. And I have to be really careful with my marketing to make sure that I make money from every order. So if I was doing it again, I certainly, going forward, I would never start a company that resells other people's products. I will only ever do my own products from now on because the margins are much higher.
Yeah.
So that's my tip. I wouldn't be a reseller. And even if you think the margins are enough, they probably aren't.
Yeah, it is true. And I mean, the whole direct to consumer sales model is definitely, you've got more margins there to play with when it comes to spending on anything, really, including yourself. So,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But it sounds like you're taking this into your actions moving forward with creating your own products. So
yeah, I am. Yeah.
Lesson learned and implemented, which is good.
Just took me a while.
Well, you're thinking about a few things and working on them, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I'm doing some food and we needed our own space. I couldn't put food in anywhere and it needs to be allergen free. So I didn't even want to put it in a kitchen that had been used for other products. So my husband and I purchased a warehouse a year ago and we've built a purpose-built allergen-free food room, which means we can make our own products.
Yeah, that's incredible. Congratulations on that one.
Yeah, thanks.
That's so cool. Next question for you, and I don't know whether this will be an easy or hard one to answer. What's one of the best decisions you reckon you have made so far in your 10 years of being in business?
Always getting education, always. Even now, I would never just not be doing anything. I usually pick one thing in my business each year that I'm not good at, and I'll go out and I'll do a course or I'll have someone. I don't tend to, now I've done it so long, I don't try to work things out on my own. I'm sure I might try and find a supplier on my own or something. But if I need to know how to do something, I don't try and work it out. I just pay someone to teach me how to do it.
Yeah, get there faster, hey?
It's so much faster and you get a better result.
Yeah. And I guess the nature of, it's probably the nature of anything, but certainly in online business, I mean, the technology for it just alone changes so quickly.
Yeah.
We can't assume that we know it all because it'll be different next year.
That's right. Exactly.
So cool. Last question for you today, and that is, what do you actually really love about being a business owner?
Well, I'm not going to say being a mum lets me do whatever I want, go to school stuff, because I actually feel like I work more than other mums and I work a lot of hours and I do get to do all of that stuff, but that's not really that it's important to me, but that's not the main reason. I really like being able to learn new stuff and apply it, and then it works. I just love that. So I did a Google course at the end of last year for 3 months. I decided I'd get good at doing my own Google ads instead of hiring random people to set it up. And it actually worked. Like, that's why I had a good finish, because I did the course, I did it every week, I did the training, and then I nailed it. My Google ads nailed it. So I love doing that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, I feel a little bit similar too, in that I mean, your kids and my kids, they're not little anymore. So I guess, feeling like we have to be quite so hands-on is a bit different once they're teenagers and older.
That's right.
But yeah, I love that whole process of seeing the fruits of my creation come to reality.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, really is.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing this stuff with us today. And if our listeners want to come and check out, your website, your socials, etc., where do they come and find you? And with just for Happy Tummies, or have you got a different website as well?
I've just got Happy Tummies at the moment. And if you scroll to the footer, you'll find our social media links there. But I am building a new website at the moment. So I'm hoping to launch it in just a few weeks. I've had my photography done, and I'm just have a few little tweaks to do. I haven't set up a website for a long time, and it's a lot more work than I thought.
Yeah, especially on Shopify 2.0, I suppose. So happytummies.com.au, go and check Lisa's stuff out, and of course, if you have allergies, you'll know where to find the good stuff. So
yes. Great.
Thanks so much for jumping on with me again today.
Thanks, Kath.